You're giving chesed where, and I'll say, I'm going to stay out of any reference to politics. But, of course, this occurs within Klal Yisrael by many, quote-unquote, well-intentioned Jews who want to be Balei Chesed, but the Chesed ends up in the wrong target and not the will of Hashem, which is not the will of Hashem. They have very big Chesed. They have Chesed on people who want to live lives that are not consistent with Torah, not consistent with morality, whatever. Be Balei Chesed, just be a Bal Chesed. Doesn't exactly work that way. Chesed has to be balanced by Gvura. If there's no Gvura, then Chesed is a Chatas, is off the mark, because you need the bow and the arrow, the bow with the arrow. If there's no bow to guide the arrow to its proper location and you're just throwing arrows, it's not going to end up in the right place. Okay. So what happens? Eliezer has to know that she's going to follow through. That's what the pasuk says. Vayihi kasher kilu hagamalim lishtos. The minute the camels finished drinking, vayikach ishas hanefsan. He took out the money. He took out the kesef kedushin because she followed through. She really did care about the camels. She made sure that the camels had all that they needed. She really is a balas chesed. It's not the chesed of the Leumim, the chiti chesed. It's chesed that's worthy for the house of Avram and Sarah. Okay? You heard it here first. Is that a nice pshat? Anyway, but that's not my pshat. That's really, ultimately, it's the Or Chaim HaKadosh says it. Okay, let's now move on to the next thing. So the midah of the chitim is to do chesed leumim chatas, and the midah of Am Yisrael is to do chesed lizulaso to the others. Okay. Now, let's go back to Marasa Machpelah for a second. Machpelah means split, right? Split, double. It's two parts. Moriah is the opposite. My mashgiach, Rav Moshe Wolfson, Zayin Gesund and Stark, wrote a beautiful, beautiful essay in his Sefer about the difference between two places that were the Malchus Yisrael, Hebron and Yerushalayim. One is represented by Rachel, and one is represented by Leah. Where's Leah buried, of course? Kever Rachel. In Maras Machpelah. Kever Rachel is outside of Yerushalayim, just on the outskirts of Yerushalayim, literally. What does that mean? Moriah is Har HaMoriah, means two things, according to Chazal. Moriah is from the word moreh, which means to teach Torah. It's the source of halacha. Halacha emerges from there to rule the environment according to the will of Hashem, which is the melech's job. Make sure you implement Torah law. But it's also Moriah, myrrh, Har HaMor, which is Ketoret, the spices for the Ketoret. What is the job of the Ketoret? To keep the unity of Am Yisrael with Hashem. Why? Because the Ketoret contains all kinds of spices, all different kinds. Some smell better, some smell worse. That's Klal Yisrael, but we bring it all together in a sweet-smelling incense for Hashem. That's what the Kohen Gadol does on Yom Kippur. He links every member of the Jewish people through the Avodah HaKetores, where? Next to the Aron Habris, which contains the Torah. Ketores and Torah go together. That's Har HaMoriah. Moreh, as in Torah. More, as in Ketores. What does that mean? The unity of Klal Yisrael with each other and with Torah and with Hashem is one unit. There's no two parts. There's no machpelah. There's no separation allowed. It's utter unity. It's simple and utter unity. That's Moriah. Moriah means the Jewish people are united with their Torah and united with each other and united with Hashem. That's the job of Yom Kippur, to bring everybody back together. What about Machpelah? Machpelah represents when we are not together, when we are separated, when we are divided, when we are scattered. We are in Golus. It's an underground cave that you can't tell whether there's Churban or not. Because if you look on the surface, it may be completely destroyed. But underneath, everything is just intact. Everything is as it's supposed to be. So the Mashgiach, Rav Wilson, wanted to say that that's the difference between Rachel and Leah. You know that at night there's something called Tikkun Chatzos, I mentioned it before, which has two parts. By the way, it's commendable for women to say Tikkun Chatzos. I'm not telling you to get up in the middle of the night. In case you happen to be up after 11:30, it's not that late maybe, you can open up a siddur and say Tikkun Chatzos. Tikkun Rachel, which begins it, is very raw. It describes bodies strewn around Yerushalayim being eaten by the birds of prey. I mean, it's graphic, it's horrific, it's bloody, it's Churban. It's all about the Churban. Tikkun Leah is a party. We're singing to Hashem, we're praising Hashem, the Beis HaMikdash is intact, and it ends with the Mishnayos from Maseches Midos, which describes how they used to get up every morning and start the day in the Beis HaMikdash. Now, the Kohanim would sleep at night, and then they would come and say, okay, who's going to take the ashes off the Mizbeach? And it describes that process until he washed his hands with... One second. I thought you're lamenting the destruction of the Beis HaMikdash. No. We're actually in the Beis HaMikdash, and we're preparing for the day's work, because you're in the middle of the night, right? We're all excited that in a few hours, we're going to do the Avodah. What, are you kidding? We're in a time of Churban. The answer is, there is a place that is never Charev. There is a connection to Hashem that can never, ever, ever be separated. Even in times of Kefel. Even when we're scattered, even when we're broken, even when we're in a Churban, there's still a place where we are perfectly connected to Hashem. That's Machpelah. You see the difference? Moriah is visible. That's Rachel, the world of the outer world. Take a look around Eretz Yisrael. Take a look at Har Bayis. What do you see? Well, if what you see is not really the ultimate, that means we're still in a state of Churban, to whatever extent. Although Baruch Hashem, we have Kibbutz Golios, etc., etc. But it's not quite there. It's visible to the naked eye. That's why Keva Rachel is above ground, whereas Machpelah is below ground, invisible, visible and invisible. And Mashgiach also said a fascinating thing. He said, for centuries, maybe for thousands of years, Maras HaMachpelah never had a building. You know who built that little building? You know, these are the pictures of the old Maras HaMachpelah. You know who built that building? Rothschild. Baron Rothschild donated money. It was Rothschild. It was Rothschild or Montefiore. I don't want to give the wrong person credit, or the right person not credit. But it was very recent. It was in the modern times. It never had a building. And then when did it get the current underground military complex that it is today? That was under Netanyahu, right? During the Intifada. During the Intifada, the Keva Rachel starts to become Machpelah. Hidden, more hidden, and more hidden, and more hidden, right? Used to be open, an open field, an openly marked grave. You know? Like, you go to Amuka. It's open, right? That's what it was. Maybe they put a little building over it, but then it was a building, and now it's almost like it's in a submarine, hidden from view. Mashgiach noted that that's because, as we get closer and closer to Mashiach, the challenge against, the fight against the revelation of Hashem, particularly in Eretz Yisrael and Yerushalayim, is powerful. There's so much opposition, it's the final push. So it's almost kind of like pushing Kever Rachel lower and lower until finally it will reemerge. But the forces that are fighting us are global, entire. Okay. So the analogy also is for our personal lives. There are times where we feel everything's going great, right? Everything on the surface is fine. Kenahara, parnasa, what is it? Geffen. Gesund, parnasa, nachas. Everything is flowing. And there are times where we feel our lives are mamish in a state of churban. Maybe a loss, maybe a difficult time, certain yisurim, whatever it is. But you have to know that whichever way, it's the chasdei Hashem. Because the chesed of Hashem is always lezulas, it's always for us. It's never self-serving. Hashem doesn't do chesed chatas, he only does chesed lezulas. So whatever we're going through is a tremendous chesed from Hashem. We don't understand it, you don't know how to deal with it, Hashem is saving you from this, Hashem is saving you from that, you're getting a kapara for this, kapara for that. It doesn't matter. We don't have to understand. But we have to believe it's machpelah. That is our destiny. Okay? Fine. So, just to recap. So what have we seen? We've seen that Avram Avinu is making a purchase that is much more than a purchase. It's the fulfillment of what it says. And this is a chiddush I want you to see. Remember, the first of the 7 Canaanite nations that's mentioned in Bris Ben Abasarim is the Chitim. And therefore, the first purchase of Eretz Yisrael was from the Chitim. Look at the Ben Abasarim, Perek Tedvav, and look at, okay, that's an insight that maybe people gloss over, but that's what happened here. Now, there's another thing. In the Bris HaBisarim, Hashem says what? He says, Dor HaRevi'i Yashuvu Hema. The 4th generation will come back, right? 4th generation. And why is the reason why the 4th generation, why only the 4th generation? Do you remember what the pasuk says? Because the sin of who wasn't complete yet? The sin of whom? The Emori. The Emori represent the 4th generation. Now, if you look over there, you will see an amazing thing. It says, okay, the 7 from Eretz Yisrael. Chiti is number 1, Prizi number 2, Rephaim number 3, Emori number 4, Dor Revi'i Yashovu Heina, because they are the 4th of the 7 Canaanite nations. Now, here's what we have to understand on an even much deeper level, and with this we'll pull it all together.
What was their sin?
Oh, I'm going to explain. So each one of the Canaanite nations is the exact antithesis of the Midah Tova. Much as Avram is the Midah of Chesed. Who is his counterpart? Ephron Hachiti. Chesed Lizulas, pure Chesed, like the Chesed Rivka and Sarah would do. On the other hand, the Chesed of the Chitim, which represents self-serving or misguided Chesed. Zeh mul zeh. Comes out that each one of the Ushpizin, which are the 7 lower midos, are how shall I say, are the polar opposite of the good quality that Klal Yisrael, who's inheriting the land of the 7 nations, display. So let's match them up, right? So this is what we have to know. So the Chiti is Keneged Avram Avinu, which represents Chesed. Kenani would be against who? Would be against Yitzchak, okay? And those are the Kenanis. Girgashi is against Yaacov. Oh, excuse me. It goes like this. Chiti, Prizi, Rephaim, Emori, Kanani, Girgashi, Yavusi. So let's go again. Chiti is Avraham. Prizi is Yitzchak. Rephaim is Yaakov. Emori, which is the 4th generation, Avraham, Yitzchak, Yaakov. Who's after that? That's the generation of Moshe Rabbeinu, or Levi, Moshe Rabbeinu. Then the Kanani is the 5th generation, which represents Keneged Aaron HaKohen. And their Girgashi would be, that's Midas Hod. Girgashi is Keneged Yosef, Midas HaYesod. And the Yavusi is against David HaMelech. Okay? So each one of the 7 nations, just hold the tape for 1 second. Okay.